Hey, Emily.
Good morning. Do you notice anything different about us?
Little mics. Big mics, little stands. This is my dream penis. Short shaft, big head. I've told you this, right? That my big fear that held me back from doing stand-up for a while is I had this fear that I'd like compulsively lick the mic. That I'd get up there and I would just not be able to stop myself from licking the mic.
Because you think it's so sexy?
No, just because I feel like I would just like, I don't know. You know when you like, people like put their hands in their pockets? I don't know. I just was like, what if I get up there and like take a bite out of the mic? And I can't stop myself. I just like black out and just start.
Oh, you guys, you can't let fear hold you back.
I want to say to this day, I never
Look
licked
where
the mic.
we are now. Oh, I've
had it bang my teeth. Though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've hit it with my teeth for sure.
And that's one of the worst. You ever hit a man with your teeth? This is worse.
I hit a man with my teeth recently on a really unpleasant experience of a date, and I said, "Oh, that was a sign from God."
You hit his teeth.
Our teeth hit each other's.
Yeah.
teeth.
No, I didn't know if maybe you bit him, and like this is how you were letting me know. Like, oh, I hit a man with my teeth.
No.
You know, I had a friend in 7th grade put her fingers on my mouth while I was talking and then go, "You bit me." And I've always been like, this is low-key how my life is. Don't put your fucking fingers in my mouth when I'm talking. I'll bite. Like, I didn't bite you. You hit my teeth with your hands. Like, that's sometimes how I feel a lot of my life is.
Yeah, that's so true.
Anyway, if you guys like that up top, that's actually how the Patreon sounds. Should we get going for real?
Should we include this in the podcast?
Sure. Give them a little taste. I feel like it's summer vacation. People want to be fast and loose with it. They want to know how the sausage gets made.
Okay.
I'm Claire Parker.
And I'm Ashley Hamilton. And this is Celebrity Memoir Book Club, the podcast where we are stranded in our brains with nothing but a book to survive. And listen, you don't have to live like that. You don't have to live off of these celebrity memoirs. You can just like chill and watch from home while we tell you what's in them.
You ever watch a reality TV show and go, I wish it was all confessional, because that's what this podcast is. Nothing but confessing our truth about these books.
Totally.
And Ashley, how are you doing? Do you have any stories to share? Any wrecks to mend?
Yeah, I have a life lesson from this week.
Oh my God. Is it that if you're in a bad mood, try hanging out with your friends and doing the things you like?
Can I say, reading this book, I was thinking about how I always have my rec for the week be hang out with your friends and do the things you like. And watching her over and over again come to the same conclusions about her own life, I was like, hey man, we're all just trying to make it permanent. We're all just trying to learn the truth and let it sink in beyond the bones. Because sometimes you realize stuff, but you're not living stuff.
That's so true. You can know it, you can feel it, and then you can live it.
Yeah.
I actually saw a TikTok today that really touched me. He said, everyone wants to do ayahuasca, but no one wants to do the dishes. I don't know what his larger point was. I think it's like he leads a cult, but I was like, you know, that's a really good point. I feel that I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be great if I could overhaul this goddamn personality? And it's like, okay, Claire, how about you start by fucking closing the refrigerator door? It's been beeping at you for 20 minutes and you're like refusing to close it to prove a point, but to whom? You're alone and your food's spoiling.
Oh my God. I was thinking it was everyone wants to do ayahuasca, but no one wants to barf.
No, I think people,
that's what holds me back from ayahuasca.
Can I tell you, I think people obviously are willing to barf, but they're not willing to go home and do the small daily rituals of changing yourself. Anyway.
Listening.
Yeah. Poor Ashley. She refuses to just hang out with her friends and do the things she's like. She's always doing something else. What are the other things you're doing?
It's like hanging out some of the time and looking at my phone more than I should.
One day.
I'll figure it out. Okay, so my lesson was, speaking of looking at my phone, you know, we're two people. We put ourselves out on the internet a lot. And there used to be a real like up and down to it where, you know, when things were going good, I felt just like high on life. Mm-hmm. And then when things were going bad, I felt really like colossally in the dumps. And this week, our Subway Hot Takes came out, which is a much viewed internet series. And mine went well. Mm-hmm. And it still didn't.
Can you say that more confidently, please? Because I would say it went gangbusters. There was hundreds of comments going, this is the best hot take I've seen in a while.
But I still felt nothing.
Oh, good.
And that was like a real good revelation for me to be like, that's a wrap on outside validation. You have to just like figure shit out. Like you have to just like live yourself, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think that's what gamblers are always trying to hit, right? They're like, after a while, the wins don't feel like anything, but the loss, like there's no win that feels as good as a loss feels bad, kind of.
Yeah.
But I think step one is removing the the joy of the win.
Yeah, and I felt very like,
hopefully we can strip all joy from life, and then only then will we strip back sorrow, and then we can live like rocks.
But I want to strip all joy from internet and then just like make stuff as it feels right, but like not feel addicted to it. And then I won't be checking my phone as much. And then I'm not stripping joy from life. I'm living life and having joy from real life.
That's so beautiful. As part of your real life, I can't wait to meet you out here.
Yeah, I think it'll be really nice. I'll text you when I'm ready.
I'll keep my phone close by.
Okay, Claire, what's your life like this week?
Well, I have something embarrassing to admit.
Uh-oh.
On the Patreon a week or two ago, we read this article about like why Lauren Sanchez Bezos, like what was it about her that she was able to lock down Mr. Clean? You know what I mean? Mr. Clean 200 billion. And by clean, I mean dirty, dirty money.
Dirty money and no muscles, like the good one.
If you guys are familiar with their love story, there was leaked texts years ago, leaked by her brother, weirdly enough, where he's like, I love you too, alive girl. And my humiliating truth is I would like to be an alive girl. Can you not laugh at my truth? I'm being so vulnerable.
I was thinking about this weekend at the beach.
Yeah, we had some good times. But anyway, I in no way deify Lauren Sanchez Bezos. Sorry, there's a lot of syllables these days.
Lauren Sanchez Bezungas.
Ain't that the fucking truth? Anyway, my point is I do not really admire her or look up to her in any ways, but I would like that, you know, that quote where it's like people don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. I would like to feel alive. I would like people to feel alive with me. And I think, weirdly enough, I'm quite put off by discomfort and specifically the fear of discomfort. I like to be comfy. Being alive is being uncomfortable, baby. You have to sit under the umbrella of your discontent. And that's something my mom used to tell me when I was 8. Because I would ask for too much. I'd be like, give me an orange. And she'd be like, no, live with your discomfort. She used to say to me, you have to sit under the umbrella of your discontent. And then she would immediately give in to my request for a clementine in the car, even though she knew I would make a mess because it was actually too uncomfortable for her to hear me complain. Anyway, isn't it funny how we all give our best lessons, you know? Anyway, in my pursuit of being an alive girl, I went to the Jersey Shore and I did a very scary ride that I've been saying I was going to do. Every weekend I'm down the shore for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
For 10 years now, I've been gathering gangs of people and saying, let's go to the boardwalk. Tonight I do the slingshot. And then for 10 years, I've been gathering those gangs, bringing them to the boardwalk and going, first, should we have candy? And then making everybody eat a ton of candy and have a ton of margaritas. And then I go, our tummies are too full to do the slingshot tomorrow. I've been doing that for 10 years.
It's happened to me like 5 times.
Yeah, I'm tricking everybody. I'm lying to everybody. You know what that kind of lie is? It's death. It's death creeping up and grabbing hold of my throat in my early 30s.
That's so true.
And I said, I have to pry its fucking fingers off my neck and breathe. So today with my friend Sophia, shout out to Sophia. She's my alive girl. I said, I'm going to live life, man. And I did it. And you know what? Continue to live. And I feel a little bit more alive. And I've kicked back the Grim Reaper for but a moment more. And I feel stronger for it.
Yay.
I went in the ocean, even though I knew for a few minutes I might be cold. And afterwards, I'd be a bit wet. And I hate being cold and wet.
Yeah, it's so true.
But I'm alive. And I'm living like it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Lauren Bezos Sanchez.
My problem with going in the ocean, and I feel like this weekend I just ran right in. I followed Sophia and Mac in.
Alive girls.
The alive girls were dunking, and then I said, Ashley, you have to go in because the problem is you're burning hot on the sand, and then you get 2 steps from the water, and you go, well, now it's actually quite moderate.
Yeah, the breeze of the ocean really keeps me cool.
And you go, well, why would I jump in now?
I'm moderate, but moderate's not alive.
Exactly.
Moderate's almost worse than death.
Can I say to be a moderate? Kill me.
Yeah. Take me to the extremes and let me see from the edge. Okay. That's all to say I did a carnival ride this weekend. And aren't you proud of me?
I am.
We actually had the 2 extremes our subway takes. Ashley was beloved and I was behated. And hey, we both sit at the same table and only one of us has a nice coffee. And let me tell you, it's a live girl, me. Just goes to show. Nothing matters.
That's so
Life
true.
is what you make of it.
That's so true.
Oh, I see you finish your iced coffee. Okay,
yeah.
So we're equals.
There was an iced coffee.
We did all end up 2 days later with an iced coffee. And exactly even Stevens.
And we're both happy. And
Not
we're
me.
both
I have sunscreen in my eye.
Alive.
But I'm fighting it. Anyway, should we get into this week's book? Talk about an alive girl.
I mean, this is an alive girl if I've ever seen one.
Parvati Shallow, Nice Girls Don't Win, How I Burned It All Down to Claim My Power. If you don't know Parvati, I don't know you. Have you ever heard of a headband? She invented them.
Heard of puffy, cute headbands on a cunning young beauty?
Have you ever heard of squinting? Have you ever heard of beauty?
Parvati Shallow is a reality TV sensation. She is a 4-time competitor on Survivor, 1-time winner.
She might even be 5 if you count.
Oh, the recent Australia one?
Australia versus the world.
Plus Deal or No Deal Island.
She's also in the Traitors. And that's kind of all that's all of it. So if you don't know those, fair enough. I actually have to say I'm excited to read this book. I already read it. I'm excited to talk about it with you guys because she is one of the early survivors of the experience of going on TV and then suddenly becoming famous in a way where it's happening next to you, but not through you. Do you know what I mean? Like, she comes home from this show, they air the show, and it's like a runaway hit, and people know her and hate her based on how she's portrayed on the show, and there's nothing she can do to stop it. And I feel that did happen to a lot of people on reality TV in the early 2000s. And I think the experience, like, it's not a serial experience. It's not like she went back season after season like Jersey Shore or something.
Yeah.
Or Simple Life. You know what I mean? There wasn't like a tweaking and a changing and like an editing of self that could happen. She filmed a whole season. She came back and found out she was despised.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing to have happen to a young lady, especially without social media. It's pre-social media, so you can't be like fixing it in real time.
And she might have been a little bit on social media, but it wasn't the way social media is now, where there's like a direct conversation and response in real time with the cast. Like when you're watching The Bachelor now, the cast is like responding on their Instagram stories to like, here's what was really happening in that moment. There's so many
like after shows and podcasts. There's a lot of ways to like
explain yourself, show your real personality, quote unquote, real personality.
Yeah. So it is an interesting story, and I'm very excited to talk about it with you guys. Are you excited, Ashley? You're a new Survivor person.
Yeah, and
What are you guys called?
I guess survivors.
No.
I know. I don't know. I'm actually
They're the survivors. They survived.
Yeah, I survived watching it. It was really stressful because you always think something scary is going to happen.
I guess you guys are just fans.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called. I don't know that I have a place in the fandom yet. I'm kind of new. But I love Parv. I watched her first season, Cook Islands, and let me tell you what, she's a sensation. But it's hard because I watched it after seeing her on The Traitors, so I already loved her.
So it was hard to imagine. You have to imagine in 2008, we hated every woman we could see.
Yeah. If there was a woman that you could catch with your eyeballs, she's gone.
Yeah. She's showing herself to you, slut.
Yeah.
So we start with an interesting prologue. Please help me, I gasped, tears streaming down my 5-year-old face, my arms and legs thrashed against the murky pond water. I'm drowning. The adult I trusted to keep me safe had thrown me off the dock in the middle of the pond. So she's telling the story. She's at an ashram. It never comes to light who threw her. It never comes to light what happened. And it's just this story of like, she's a little girl. She starts to drown. And just as she's like, oh, I'm about to die, my body has given in. Somebody grabs her, saves her, pulls her out. And she goes, at that moment, I kind of became addicted to that rush of getting to the edge of being alive and being pulled right back and seeing that like, whatever that adrenaline rush is of surviving.
Yeah, that rush of giving it all you've got and then just being like, well, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I want to feel that way again. The message I learned that day was clear. If I pushed myself hard enough to the point of complete exhaustion and near death, I could come out on the other side. I could survive. And surviving, I was beginning to believe, it was the most exciting feeling in the world. I mean, I guess it's perfect. She ended up on Survivor. I will say this is an interesting prologue to me because she never really circles back to explain what the fuck that was.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did you get thrown into a goddamn pond?
Like, what was... Yes.
Who was the adult?
Who was the adult that you trusted to protect you that was chucking you into a pond?
Was that your dad? Or was that just like an adult that was allowed to maybe let you die?
I think all of the adults at the ashram were allowed to maybe let the kids die.
And I think that should be explored.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
People I trusted to keep me safe would betray me. I would also at times be the perpetrator, betraying others. I became obsessed with power dynamics, learning to use them in games, crafting for myself a polarizing public persona and a lucrative career.
So it starts with Catcher, my mom whispered urgently as she pushed my 2-month-old body out of a window to my father who was waiting for me below. So it starts with her being 2 months old and her parents are escaping the ashram that she was born in.
She explains how her parents ended up in this cult/ashram. They were both young Catholics who became disillusioned with Catholicism, but still had this hole where they were seeking, direction, validation. etc. Community.
They wanted to feel like the transcendental experience that religion can offer. She said her dad was like a big meditator and he could meditate for like 7 hours at a time.
I think we hear a lot about the Gen X/boomer, like raised in completely hands-off, ice-cold households. And I think that this explains how this like era of cults existed. It's people that were just like thirsty for being seen and they found themselves in a cult.
I guess this is like today's version would be like the Maha movement, like the anti-vax movement. This feeling of there is something missing in society. I recently read Doppelganger, which I really recommend. I thought it was great. But I think a lot of what she was saying is like, we're all feeling that something's wrong. And then some people are looking to like an easy fix. And the easy fix is to be like anti-vax, which is, you know what I mean? To like deny all the science and be like, it's big pharma and they're poisoning us specifically, as opposed to being like, there's capitalism and like it is unfair and not deny the science, but like upend the system. But I imagine that these
like privatized healthcare is the problem, not vaccines.
Anyway, so they belong to an ashram that is run by a woman named Ma Jaya Bhagavati. She was just a lady from Brooklyn, a Jewish lady from Brooklyn who was a housewife and then lost a lot of weight and then saw Jesus Christ and was like, I have the answers.
So she was a part of spiritual circles for a long time. She dated Ram Dass for a bit and he really validated her spiritual powers. And then
they broke up.
And then they broke up and he was like, wait, actually, she's a scammer.
Anyway, they didn't care.
It's okay. We need to really spend a minute with that headline.
Egg on my beard?
Egg on my beard.
I love that. It was in the yoga journal. Egg on my beard. I told all you guys my ex-girlfriend knew Jesus. Looking back, she was kind of just stealing money from you. My bad. That bitch was hot as hell. And, you know, the pussy makes you see God sometimes.
When life cracks egg on your beard, make omelet with hair in it. So it starts as this idyllic ranch where Parvati's parents met, both on kitchen duty.
And they loved it.
As time went on, it became more and more contentious.
Yeah, she says, you know, they wouldn't have described it this way then because they didn't have the language, but it starts with this kind of love bombing where you're so accepted, you're so included. And then slowly they expect you to give all your money to them. And then slowly they separate you from the people you love. Members of the community, and including my parents, were forced to attend all-night meditations where they might get kicked or slapped by Ma if they gave into their exhaustion and nodded off. Dad learned how to sleep sitting up. The guru knew well that the threat of abuse heightened the stress and thereby the level of compliance in the room.
Ma also started like making people call their families and fake illnesses to beg for money.
She also started determining who got to marry who. She would just call you up in the middle of the night and be like, you're getting married right now, go home, consummate it. And when people had children, she made them legally let her adopt them and give their children up to like
not
ashram.
Legally. So she was just doing it within the ashram, but there was no paperwork. Ma also exhibited signs of being just like super on heroin. This was the beginning of what became known as the rampage, a period of years when Ma's behavior became even more erratic, abusive, and a lot more violent.
So she gets named Parvati because Parvati is the Hindu goddess and it means the daughter of the mountain and little mother.
Ma picked it.
But after 2 months and seeing the way that Ma kept separating children from their parents and the way that she was being very abusive, they're like, we have to get out of here. So they escape. They go to Alameda. How do you say that?
Alameda,
California. And they live with Parvati's aunt, her mom's sister. However, they don't have any money. They can't get jobs very easily. And then suddenly Parvati gets pneumonia. The dad gets a weird skin rash and their cousin gets leukemia. And they were like, oh, we've been cursed. God is real and Ma is God. And if we don't go back, like our lives will never get better.
They also already were like, this is really hard life on the outside. At least we had a place of belonging in the cult or at the ashram. Like they were already getting kind of disillusioned with the outside world. And then they were like, okay, no, we're being cursed.
They try to go back and Ma says, yeah, you can come back, but you have to be punished for what you've done. So the dad's allowed to go by himself, but he has to live in like a singles bunk for men. And the mother and Parvati can't come. And then a few months later, she's like, okay, you guys can come, but you still can't live together. So it takes about 6 months for them to be allowed to be reunited as a family. And Ma says the father can't even look at his own baby. And she's like, well, this is perfect for someone like Ma because they were a unit that could scheme to escape together. But now, of course, they've been broken up and they're isolated and they're scared.
Now they're back living together at the ashram. They have another daughter named Sadashi.
She says as a kid, living in the ashram was low-key awesome.
Yeah.
Except for the deep fucking psychological trauma she's still trying to figure out to this day. She's like, I don't know what went wrong with me.
She's like, but I had all these friends. We were always just running around together, like wild and free in the woods. It was kind of great. She talks about how one time they went to a movie and one of the kids who had been taken as one of Ma's kids, his parents had left the ashram, but because Ma had taken the kid as her own, she wouldn't give him back. And so at the movie theater, there was like an FBI sting operation to take this kid back.
And that didn't really get discussed. However, as her parents get older, they start distancing themselves from the ashram. They're able to convince Ma to allow them to get an apartment across the street, which meant that their phone calls for the first time weren't being listened to. Her mom starts going to community college. And then finally, she applied and got accepted into a competitive master's program in engineering at Georgia Tech. That's when we made the final move away from the ranch for good. I was 9 years old.
So they had known after the first time they ran away, like after they went back, they were like, this is crazy, but we need to figure out what our plan is to get to the outside. We can't just escape. So they spent years putting it all together. At 9, they left and they moved to Marietta, Georgia. She kind of like didn't like having regular friends, especially when she started going to school on the outside, but they were still a part of the ashram. She like would miss being there. She didn't want to be in regular school.
It's true that patterns repeat. Many years later, as an adult, I began noticing my own tendency to flee situations that freaked me out. I'd once shed it off to India to avoid breaking up with someone face to face. I would gloss over pain, bounce from relationship to relationship, move constantly, often donating everything I owned to Goodwill and never settling in one place for long.
So then when she was 12, her little brother Kaylin was born. Now they're just like a regular suburban family. And she is like in regular school trying to navigate social dynamics. She's seen some TV, so she knows blonde girls are popular. So she just like becomes friends with the prettiest blonde girl. And that way she can be popular too.
Yeah, and she really studies. I found that if I ignored my insecurities and instead beamed my attention on others, I could earn approval and validation. Like many girls, I'd learn how to fawn. Defined as praising someone too much and giving them a lot of attention that is not sincere in order to get a positive reaction, fawning is a survival strategy that helps people gain approval and fit in with the tribe. It's basically competitive likability.
So she's, you know, watching and learning from the other Southern ladies around her, the way that they would be like, oh, sweetie, and then they could just ask for whatever they wanted because they'd call you sweetheart. And she was like, oh, it works so well. I could just like go to my teachers and ask for better grades if I was so nice.
She says she learns the combination that she's able to do of being so flirtatious and friendly and fawning, and then also the way that she truly in her heart is unavailable and pretty apathetic is a pretty potent aphrodisiac, and it really works. Boys are obsessed with her. Girls love her. She's very popular, and she makes a beam for it. She makes a beeline for it. She's like, I want to be the most popular girl in school, and she does. She wins most likable.
She wants to win friendliest, and she's like, I spent an entire school year just making sure that I was nice to every single person so that I could win the award, and I did.
In high school, she makes a new group of friends and she describes them all as being like A students, gets along with everybody. She had a group where they were all perfectionists, all perfect. She says she was on the track team. I never won, but I gave it all I had. I would run so hard that my legs would go numb and I'd pee on myself. I'd come in second to last or last place, praying no one could see the pee dripping down my legs through my track shorts. I guess my question is, how slow are you that running so hard you piss yourself and go numb? Like, how competitive was track in your high school? It really seems like the person who would give it their all would be reasonable. Middle of the pack at least. What do you mean your muscles are just so weak that even running yourself literally to death, you can't go that fast?
I wonder if she was in like an Olympian division. How in high school track are you pissing yourself and still not cracking like top 3? Maybe it's only out of 3. I don't know.
She says at the end of high school, I want to move to LA and be on TV. The room erupted with laughter. What's so funny, I thought. So she goes to college. And once again, she loves the game of sorority life. It lays out how easy it is to win and what to do to be popular.
She always has a boyfriend or she's always dating someone. Boys love her because she's just very like complimentary and flirtatious.
But then not needy because she doesn't really want anything from you. They love that she'll be like so flirty and then never seem desperate.
Real intimacy terrified me, but I still wanted the validation of being chosen.
So after college, she moves to LA. It's a big cross-country move. She has a very cool job in entertainment PR in Los Angeles. And her boyfriend at the time is like, can I come And she goes, I told him, yeah, because I'm such a people pleaser. This is one of the things she does. And I have to quote that tweet where it's like, oh, you're a people pleaser. Name 3 people you've pleased.
Well, it feels like she knows. I think this is like one of her great moments of shame is like telling Liam that he can move to LA with her and then being like, I really didn't want him there.
But she does consistently be like, well, I was such a people pleaser. You know me. I want everyone to get along and I want there to be all peace all the time. And I just do what other people like.
Yeah.
And then how did you become the Black Widow in Survivor? Do you know what I mean? I don't really believe. She's also like, I don't know. I'm running it to India to not break up with people and I'm breaking hearts and everybody wants to date me. I'm such a people pleaser. I'm like, people pleasers would be married by now. Your gay ass would be married to a man.
Her gay ass was married to a man.
But it would happen sooner. There has to be a second word that women can think of that's not people pleaser, that's still denying your truth. Because I know a lot of people who call themselves people pleasers. And I am like, I don't know, everyone here is frustrated.
People pleaser implies that other people are happy. I feel like there's an acquiescer, someone who like acquiesces to other people's needs and now no one is happy.
And there's also the type of person who doesn't know themselves enough.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? Like you can't call yourself a people pleaser just because you went out with a guy for 3 days and then ghosted him. He's not pleased that you ghosted him.
Yeah. Well, it's conflict avoidant and it's like an acquiescer. I guess conflict avoidant is
conflict
the
avoidant.
best word.
But I think
for
like
it.
a people pleaser like showed up to your birthday party and made all the cupcakes. What Parvati would do is be like, yeah, totally, and then not show up. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily pleasing.
Yeah, I think she's avoidant.
I agree.
Which I get.
No, I get it. I'm just saying I think I see that in women a lot.
Yeah.
I think there has to be subdivisions of the people pleaser. There has to be a new word that we can use.
Yeah.
For when people are actually quite often unhappy with you or frustrated with you, but you're not happy too.
Yeah.
There has to be a word for the type of woman who like now no one's happy. But they somehow made everyone unhappy in the pursuit of not letting themselves be happy. And that's different than pleasing.
The other thing you landed on is that she is someone who like didn't know herself.
Yeah.
And I think that is like a big problem she had throughout most of this book is that she's really into fight, flight, fawn, or freeze.
Yeah.
These are like big words she is identifying with from therapy, which for those of you who don't know, these are the trauma responses. You either fight, you fly away, or you fawn, which is like what she thinks she does, or you freeze and don't react at all. I would consider her flight. She's always just like running to the next thing, and she doesn't spend a lot of time thinking about what makes her uncomfortable. And I feel like she's avoidant and she runs.
Mm-hmm. I think she got mixed up with that. There's 4 Fs because she's like, how could I be 2 of them?
Yeah.
But it turns out people are complex.
You can be a lot of things, I think.
Yeah. I would say if there's anything I know, it's that you can be many a thing.
So she moves to LA. She has this job. She quits almost immediately and becomes a waitress.
She describes having a desk job as like being in prison. She's like, it was the worst thing that's ever happened to anybody was when I had to go to a desk.
I think it's just not meant for some people.
Yeah.
I think it's not meant for most people, but some people, especially if you're from like
An ashram.
a
cult.
And like she's a flyer. Like she's used to like flitting around and like flipping her hair.
I mean, she found the perfect job for her. Competitively camping.
Well, first she was a competitive waitress and she was like
she's like,
so good
I
at
loved
it.
being a waitress. She goes, all you do is flirt and bop. She talks about being like kind of a bad waitress and how she could just flirt her way out of every situation. And it reminded me of my number 1 tip for being a waitress.
Flirt your way out of every situation.
Every day is your first day. Let me tell you, I'd be a waitress for 9 months straight and every single day, new to the job, baby. People are never really mad at you when you're brand new.
That's so
And if
true.
anything, they're like, hey, you'll get it next time. And I'm like, I won't because there's no consequences really.
So she's a waitress. She loves being a waitress, but she's like kind of freaking out about what to do with the rest of her life. She's like, am I just going to be a waitress? I moved out here to be on TV. And luckily that she gets a phone call where they say, do you want to be on The Amazing Race? Do you have anyone that you could compete with?
They say, we're looking for a blonde that could compete with you. Do you know one blonde? And she goes, I know 2 blondes. They go, bring them both.
So she goes to The Amazing Race casting call with her 2 roommates and they're like, well, which one do you want?
Okay.
And so she has
Did
to
you
choose.
for a second think that she had gotten tricked into doing porn here?
No.
Okay, because the way she describes the scene is she's like, I walked into the hotel room with my 2 friends and they were acting so weird. I sit down. The first thing the director says is, who would you rather play with? And I was like, they're about to do porn. Because I've only ever heard of The Amazing Race. I've never heard of just The Race. And I'm like, oh, she got tricked into doing an Amazing Race porn called The Race.
Wow.
Well, that's not what happened. It's just
It's
the
not-
normal
no,
thing.
it was
the normal
just a
thing
regular
happened.
The Amazing Race.
But something about the word like,
Play.
which of these 2 blondes do you want to play with first? I was like, oh, she's going to have to make
Parv,
out.
your roommates are going to be so pissed that you tricked him into porn. That wasn't supposed to happen for another 5 years. Anyway, so they were like, which one would you rather play with? So she picks one. And then the other one is like, why did you drag me to this hotel room in Santa Monica only to tell me that you like don't even want me to come on the show with you?
Can I say, she like ends up moving out of the apartment because she had been living with them both there. And she was like, it was just got so awkward afterwards that it was untenable.
She's a flighter. She avoids.
She avoids, but I
just
also
have a conversation. Be like, I think Julia's taller than you and she takes longer steps, and so we'd win the race faster.
I feel who you would be better at Amazing Race with is one of those things where you have to just take a step back and be like, I'm not personally offended.
If you brought me and Sophia to a casting office, I was like, why would you even bring me? I think I'd be mad at you for being like, you shouldn't have even brought me. It's obviously Sophia. I am not an amazing racer. I walk slow. I am not a good traveler. I'm decent with like directions.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I've learned a damning fact, which is that you know where you are if you've already been there.
For the Amazing Race, I wouldn't have already been there. I just feel like I'd be such a bad person to compete with if you had any other option. If they said it's Clashley or nothing,
I would take you.
We'd figure it out. But if you had
do you have any part of you that like low-key wants to do the Amazing Race? Yeah, I do. I would.
I would do it, but I'd be distinctly bad at it.
You know who would be bad at the Amazing Race, I think?
Who?
You and your dad.
Oh my God. Truly nothing could go worse.
And nobody should be offended by this because being good at the Amazing Race is like being tall or good at drawing. It's a skill you have or not, and it's not indicative of who you are as a person morally.
I think I could do the Amazing Race if I went in being like, I'm only here to have a nice time.
Yeah, of course. Travel. And can I tell you something?
That's
not even really true. I think, you know why I think I could do the Amazing Race? Because we're specifically...
Our tour was the Amazing Race.
And we lost. We lost against nobody. I think I could do the Amazing Race because so specifically it's not to have a nice time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like I could be like pissed off, and there's this understanding that like, of course, we're all fucking pissed off and we're trudging. I could live in that truth comfortably.
The amount of times I would start crying because I felt like someone was blaming me for like a bump in the road, like a literal bump in the road. There'd be a bump in the road and someone would go, oh, that was a hard bump in the road. And I'd be like, I didn't put it there though. I just feel like you're really coming at me.
Anyway, she's not on the Amazing Race.
Anyway, so she ruins her friendships. And then they call her and they go, yeah, we're not going to have you on the Amazing Race. And she's like, oh, so I'm ruined my friendships for nothing. She also breaks up with her boyfriend that she had moved out to LA with her because she's like, no, I really didn't want him here. And then she gets a call where they go, okay, wait, we saw you for the Amazing Race, but there's this other show, Survivor. Would you want to do that? And she was like, okay. Yeah, I would try that. She doesn't seem like she was a fan or even that aware of Survivor before she was asked to go on it.
Yeah, she had no idea what it was about. How long do you think Survivor's been on? At this point, it would have been, what, 2008?
She was on season 12, I think.
Oh, wow.
So it had been 6 years because it's 2 a year and they're about to film 50.
I should get into it, you think, right?
It's really good. And I'm sure there have been bad seasons. I've heard there are bad seasons. People said last season was a bad season, but I loved it.
It's so beautiful to have like the naivete of not knowing.
Yeah.
It's so fun to be like, I think all wine sucks. So give me the $2 stuff, you know?
That's me. Anyway, so she goes on Survivor, Cook Islands, and she has a really hard time. It's a really hard show.
It doesn't matter how cold and calculated you are in real life. Like, imagine you haven't eaten or slept. That's the deal, right? They're not eating or sleeping.
I mean, yeah, it's so inconsistent. They're literally sleeping on the ground. And you can like find, sometimes there's a hammock, sometimes there are things, but like you're camping with nothing except for the clothes on your back. When I agreed to play, I haven't given much thought to strategy. I didn't think I would get so attached to a group of strangers I'd just met. I was drawn to the adventure and simplicity of living on an island in the South Pacific for 39 days. So yeah, they'll catch fish, they eat coconuts, like you eat whatever you can find. And then sometimes there are challenges where you get a reward of food. But for the most part, it's like whatever you find.
So she goes and she has a really hard time because she doesn't really know what the game entails from a gameplay perspective. For those of you who don't watch Traitors or Survivor, gameplay is the psychological warfare that happens on things like Survivor. I love it when they say that. The gameplay.
He played a great game. That sounds, Survivor is like really big on like who played the best game.
Never had someone pretended to be my friend by day and then lied to me so brutally by night. No matter that it was a game, nothing had ever felt so real to me. So she talks about how shocking it is that she got so emotional and upset and felt so genuinely betrayed. And I do believe this because I think 1, you're exhausted. 2, you're in a new situation. 3, you've been to camp, haven't you? You know what it's like to bond with somebody in 48 hours and feel closer to them than you've felt to anybody in your whole life.
And now imagine you're sleeping on a bamboo stick next to each other and then eating like one fish that you found for days.
And I think this is why these shows do genuinely work, because it does hurt your feelings when a real human being that you have been physically next to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to explain one thing about Survivor that I didn't know until I watched a season. And I feel like it's really important for like understanding gameplay. Because on Traitors, I was always like, shut up about gameplay. And then I started watching Survivor and I was like, okay, this is what it means. So you all start divided into 2 or 3 tribes. And you're playing within those tribes against the other tribes. And whichever tribe loses the challenges will vote out one of their own until the merge, which is when all the tribes merge into one group. And then you're playing for one winner, essentially. But once it's like 8 to 12 people left, when you get voted out, you become part of the jury, not like a voted out contestant. And when you're on the jury, once it gets down to like the final, it's like varied by season, but usually it's 2 to 3 in like the absolute finals, the jury picks the winner. It's not like a in contestants vote. So as you're getting people kicked out and sent to the jury, they have to still like you enough to vote for you in the end. And I feel like new Survivor, people are a lot more respecting and interested in strategy and gameplay. So sometimes,
even if you kick them out, they're like, real recognize real.
Yeah. Depending on personality too. Some people don't like that. Some people do like that. So there are some people who are very like, wow, the way you got me kicked out was fucking insane. Bravo. And then there are some people who are like, wow, the way you got me kicked out was fucking insane. I hate you and I'll never vote for you. And it is like learning who's what kind of person. Really like it's called jury management, they call it. Like, that's managing
funny.
How like your reputation within the jury. And it also keeps on
evolving, because if they watch you and don't like who you've become.
Someone who gets voted out like third to like the last addition to the jury is now eating dinner with the jury group for another couple days. And they can be like, here's what's happening back on the island. This is how this person's acting. Like, they can inform on like what's happened since the other people left. Yeah, it's like a constant flux. And so I think it is important that you're not just competing against the people who you're on the island with. You're like competing with and against and for them. Her first like real breakdown happens on Survivor when her friend gets voted out and, you know, a couple players conspired and lied to her to get him out. And she feels deeply betrayed by her entire group and she freaks the fuck out. She gets voted out. I think she ended up being out like 6th to last or something like that. After all was said and done, I unearthed a broader emotional landscape within myself. In addition to happy-go-lucky girl I always knew myself to be, I found I could play with other more intense feelings. Life had brought me lessons of betrayal, raging anger, and loss of innocence. Survivor Cook Islands premiered on September 14th, 2006, a week before my 23rd birthday. She was so young.
I know. I can't believe how young she was.
I thought she was on it when she was 25, but she won at 25. She played for the first time at 22.
She was a veteran at 25. This was her grad school.
Wow. So she was on the show. It premiered. People like didn't really like her.
She starts having this experience where just out in public, people come up to her and go, we were so happy when you got voted out. You're the most annoying one out there. She's like, people are constantly coming up to me and just attacking me and telling me how awful they are. And this is really hard for a self-described people pleaser who just wants to be liked and has spent her whole life being like, if you put all your effort into likability, it does work. As somebody who has never really been the most liked in the group, I don't even really have it happen to me in person, but you know, it's disconcerting to have people come up to you and be like, I hate you. And you're like, I don't know you.
I guess reading this, I was like, okay, I guess the one benefit of social media is that
people used to do it in real life.
Yeah, I can't believe, because I feel
hide behind your keyboard. I'm at brunch.
Like the thing we loved about touring is that online people are very bricked up for criticism. And then
that's a great way to describe it. Bricked up for criticism. Bricked up for the crit up.
And in person, people will see me. And even if they don't like the podcast, if they recognize me from the podcast, they say they like the podcast. Yeah. It's like Evan Jogia being everyone's childhood. Like,
yeah, it's like when someone gets a haircut and you can't just be like, I noticed. You have to be like, oh, I love it.
Yeah. And
but you say it like that, like, oh, no, I really, and they go, and are you still doing it? And I go, yeah, you love it though.
Anyway, so it is interesting that before that kind of relationship with reality stars existed on social media, people were just saying it to your face.
That's crazy.
I can't imagine. She's dating an actor who thinks she's kind of a sellout for doing reality TV, even though it sounds like she didn't have dreams of acting really. She just kind of wanted to be famous, and she is.
I was a bubbling cauldron of heat and repressed anger, though outwardly I performed happy. It makes sense that after I came home, I ran right back into the arms of a mean boyfriend who could argue back. My upbringing led me to believe that anger and rage needed to be exiled. So she's like, because of it, on the ranch, the only person who was allowed to be angry was Ma, and that's because she was so powerful. I really thought like you had to be very powerful to be allowed to be angry, and everybody else had to just fake happy.
Before she went on Survivor, she had started working out at a boxing gym. And after she came back, she started competing in boxing because she needed something to like beat up.
By giving me a safe space to feel and release my anger without me knowing it, boxing was healing me. I will say, not enough. It's finished to be like, I was getting healed by boxing. Anyway, it turns out that whole time I've been so fucking broken.
I guess my one criticism with this book is that there's constantly a push and pull of like, and I was recentered within myself. One day later, I was completely thrown off kilter. A year later, Survivor called and asked me to go back for a second time. I was ready to win. This time around, I'd anticipate betrayal and I would beat people to the punch.
She also had LASIK, so she was friggin' unstoppable.
Can I say, I do feel like having dirty fingers and trying to put contacts
I guess
in
they don't
is
give you
crazy.
like hand sanitizer, huh? She read the 48 Laws of Power and the Art of Persuasion, so she went in ready to like level up her gameplay.
And she
But
literally she did. She went in just like flat out lying to win and nailed it. She won.
So what she did is she created like an alliance amongst all the women, and they went after every man systematically. I don't really know the difference.
Yes, I think systematically.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't systemic.
Yeah, because that system didn't like exist.
Yeah.
It's actually the opposite. I think
They were the
systemically women
system.
are like weeded out. But
Yeah. But they created a new system.
anyway, she actually had an insane play at the end. In the final 5, it was the 4 girls, like her and 3 other girls that she had an alliance with, and then 1 guy. And he won immunity in the challenge. So they were like, fuck, we're not going to be able to go into the final 4 with all 4 girls. And then they convinced him to give his immunity away. That's crazy.
I mean, that is really like, what an idiot. Men are so stupid.
It's like insane that they made that work. Anyway, they did. And then Parvati won.
She wins, but she's hated by everybody. And this really stirs up some self-hatred in herself. She's called a slut. She's called greedy. She's told that she has no friends, that nobody likes her, that all she does is like use her sexuality to steal. And she's sitting here going, but it was a game. Like the point is to win the game. I did what I was supposed to. But it's hard not to separate those things.
She is flirty, but she wasn't slutty. She's flirty and she's pretty, and that's what sluts are.
Yeah. The message I received, it's dangerous to be a powerful, successful, and sexy if you're a woman.
It's true, especially in 2008.
I needed to do damage control around my public perception. Getting people to see me as a good girl and to approve of me again became my driving force. So she's like going into overdrive trying to make people like her. I didn't understand the danger of exiling and repressing my rage. I wonder where she got that phrase, exiling rage. It comes up a lot, and it's not a lot. It's not something I've heard before.
The thing I find so endearing about her is that she is someone who is like constantly working on herself and trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
She talks a lot about defining problems so that you can work on them. And I think she learned about exiling rage and was like,
I'm just so interested in the
something to work on.
Exiling rage and repressing rage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, anger, after all, is the emotion that shows us when injustice has occurred. When I denied my anger, I also severed my connection to my boundaries. Without boundaries and an inability to speak up for or defend myself, I allowed other people to troll all over me, depleting my precious reserves even further. So then she becomes trapped in a vicious internal spiral of self-loathing.
Because she also agrees. Like some of the criticisms against her, she's afraid that that's true. I felt guilty about blindsiding my friends and helpless to prove that I wasn't the awful, greedy, slutty person that many people believed me to be. And it is hard because it is a game. I guess I don't know what's greedy about trying to win Survivor when you're there to win Survivor.
Isn't everybody?
Yeah.
Nobody is greedy. Some people are just worse at Survivor. I would be so bad at Survivor. Can I tell you? I don't think I have good gameplay.
Yeah, me either. I'd be like, we all became best friends.
But I feel like that would serve you. I think you wouldn't win, but I think you'd like make it.
That
would
say,
serve you.
I think it only matters if
Up
I
until top
brought
5.
No, it would only matter if I brought one other skill. Because I think that if I was just like a good vibe, they'd be like, she's a good vibe, but like literally what the fuck else was she doing? But if I was like a good vibe and I was really good at fires or like really good at catching fish or like really good, you know what I mean? Then they'd be like, okay, she's like fun to have around. We get fish. So like
and she's not really a threat.
So let's just keep her here.
Yeah. So she goes back for heroes versus villains. This is what killed me reading this memoir is I'm like, what do you mean we're on our 3rd round of Survivor and we're on page 75?
Yeah.
The pacing of this book is quite silly.
She talks a little bit about being low-key like addicted to Survivor. She's like, every time I went, it like destroyed me from within, but I was addicted to it like heroin.
So she goes back as heroes versus villains, and she's like, I was supposed to be a hero, but because all my friends were heroes, they wanted to break us up, so I became a villain, but it was really just like random that I became a villain. And I'm like, was it? Or did it have something to do with the fact that it sounds like you were twice now pretty reviled? It's funny to be like, everybody hated me, and then everybody hated me even more the second time. Random, I became a villain. Am I right or am I wrong?
It's hard to say because, like, what the fuck is a hero and what the fuck is a villain? Like, what?
Boston Rob's a hero.
Yeah, but like, why?
Because he fell in love. And heroes fall in love.
On Survivor TikTok, which I watch a lot, there are a lot of like big Survivor fans who don't really like Boston Rob. They think he's like controlling for, like, they're like, everyone just falls in line with what he says, but like, why? Like, they don't think he's even.
Because he was a very beautiful boy.
But what I'm saying is.
No, I hear you.
When you're a beautiful man.
I'm trying to help them understand that when you're that beautiful with a pretty wife, you get to call the shots.
When you're beautiful and you're a man, you're a hero. And when you're a sexy woman, you're a villain.
Literally.
Literally.
It's not that hard and it's not that deep.
So she's a villain from Heroes versus Villains. She aligns with Russell because everyone else is so mean to her because she's a villain, which is like the underdog group. Obviously, everyone wants the heroes to win. And then her friends Amanda and Candace, who she'd aligned with before, even after the merge, they won't work with her at all. And I think it's because she's aligned with Russell, who's the only one who would align with her anyway. Anyway, so she picks up a lot of bad will on this season of Survivor.
So she ends up final 3.
Which is really good. And then obviously she doesn't win the jury vote because everyone for some reason hates her. And she's like, it's just because I'm a villain. It might be, but it also might be because she like was really butthurt by the early gameplay and went about just like destroying everybody. Which is the game. That's the game.
Their words hit me like an assault, and I sat still on my stump, helpless to stop it. TV cameras trained on me like sniper rifles. All I could do was sit there, shut up, and take it. I felt myself shrink until I was so small I was sure I'd disappeared. I was frozen, unable to think, move, or act, incapable of doing anything at all. This is like when everybody one by one tells her how much they hate her.
Yeah.
However, she gets home and she gets a phone call that would change everything for her.
So she also says if this had aired today and we were talking about what was happening in the outside world, you would have seen that my life was in fucking shambles.
So right before she went on Survivor this third time, her brother basically went into brain surgery. And I think she left on the flight the day of the surgery. And what had happened is he was actually visiting her. And then he was drinking and skateboarding and he had like a traumatic brain injury. She got a call from a random person being like, I'm sitting here with your brother. He's bleeding. She gets in the ambulance, goes with him to the hospital. And it's like obviously horribly traumatic. And she doesn't know if he's going to make it.
And so before the injury, he'd already been exhibiting some signs of maybe having problems with addiction. And after the injury, he went into full-blown like drug and alcohol addiction.
I played that entire season with the recent horrors of my friend's brother's death and my own brother's traumatic accident weighing heavily on my mind. Still, I managed to play boldly. And on her way home, her big regret is not standing up more for herself.
Yeah.
I let them say all those terrible things about me and I just took it. Why didn't I tell them to fuck off? Why didn't I get up and walk out? A stronger person would have done those things, I thought, and I blame myself. So she gets home. She has the $1 million and she's like, all right, what's my next plan? And she's like a real doer. Every minute of her life, she's like, next. So she builds a wellness center on Montana Avenue in LA. It's supposed to be like a yoga studio with saunas. And honestly, describing it, I was like, that sounds amazing. I would love a fancy yoga studio with like a beautiful, like Equinox amenities, but just yoga and Pilates.
Yeah. And also it sounds like she was doing a bunch of like all different types of like healing things, breath work, maybe acupuncture. I don't know. It seems like there was a lot going on there. She was opening it up with a friend. She poured a lot of money into it. It took a ton of time, a ton of money.
She was teaching like personally 4 or 5 classes a day. Meanwhile, after Kaylin, her brother, had returned home from the hospital, he'd spiraled into a full-blown drug and alcohol addiction. So her mom is now calling her constantly for emotional support. She personally has a lot of demons, but she's kind of squelching them all, exiling her rage, as she would say, so that she can support her mom, build this business, and just try to put one foot in front of the other.
After about 2 years, she has to sell her business for a loss because she just is like, well, this isn't working. Her family is still imploding, and she is about to turn 30, and she decides what she wants more than anything is a baby.
To take the edge off, I developed my own addictions to the allure of sex and power games in my romantic relationships. I couldn't fathom allowing anyone to see how hideously ugly I felt inside. The emotional availability or authentic intimacy were off the table. My body was not a safe place for me to dwell in, so I left it again and again.
So she is just kind of all over the place, having a really hard time. And then she meets another guy who was on Survivor. His name is John. They meet at like a Survivor charity game or something. And she goes, this is someone I could marry. She kind of just decides during this time that what would anchor her is a stable relationship and a family.
Parvati means like little mother. So her whole life, she'd always envisioned herself as a mother. And that's the thing she wanted more than anything. At this point, she had already sold her wellness studio at a loss. So she was definitely unmoored and looking for her next stage.
Yeah. And you really feel the way she decided her next stage was going to be family, because she talks about all the red flags that popped up early and the ways she was able to just kind of dodge them because she had a vision.
She had a vision and she was getting kind of tired. And this guy, Peter, came from a family where his mother whatever.
Yeah.
This man, John, came from a family where his mother was a stay-at-home mom and threw beautiful parties and was a lovely hostess. And she thought about her upbringing where her mom was this engineer and the primary breadwinner. And she just thought, wow, it really looks nice to just be somebody's wife. Like, what if I just took a minute and instead of always being the breadwinner and the goer and the doer, I like tried this new type of life where I got to hang back.
Also, she felt really unmoored by the fact that she hadn't really been building towards anything. After she sold the wellness center that she made, she was like, I've just been going on and off reality TV since I graduated college. That was the only real consistent thing in her life, was going on Survivor. She wasn't creating a career and a life for herself. She was just kind of running.
So early on in dating, Peter, you say?
John. You say Peter. I say John, which is correct.
Where did I even get Peter from?
I'm sure there's a Peter in this book.
There's definitely Peters in the world.
Yeah, that's the name.
Anyway, John. Early on, there's these red flags from John that are like bizarre. She'll be waiting for him at dinner and he just won't text her back. And then hours later, he'll be like, wait, why? What's up? She'll be like, we had plans. And so these little red flags she's telling people, and everybody's like, well, you know, your pattern, Parvati, is to run as soon as things get difficult and run as soon as you don't feel like building roots or whatever. So why don't you just stick it out and see if you can work it together? And she's like, so we went to therapy. We were a few months into dating. Looking back now, you really shouldn't be in therapy a few months in.
Yeah, I also really recognize, because I don't feel that I was asking other people for advice necessarily when I was in a relationship that wasn't so good, but I feel like I was just in a place in my life where I was like, I want to be in a relationship right now. So whoever is here is someone who I'm going to be in a relationship with. And I feel like that happens to a lot of women, where then like everything that would happen early on, I was like, it's because I'm too picky and I'm always just like looking for a reason to be like, I don't know, fuck off. And I feel like this keeps happening where you're like, well, I'm the one who's an asshole. And then you get to a point where you're like 2 years in and you're just like, well, now we've been in a relationship for 2 years. What are you going to just run away now? We've put in so much for each other.
She tries to figure out why it was so important for her to be with this John.
Yeah.
And this is what's so funny is she's always being like, well, my trauma response, but she never really puts her finger on what her trauma is. And every once in a while, she'll casually be like, well, this one thing from the ashram. And I'm like, we need to dig more into that. I feel this book does not do enough digging into the fact that the first 9 years of her life,
she was in like an abusive cult.
That seems to her to be like, it could have been that. It could have been that my mom was very busy in high school. And I'm like, maybe it could have been anything. She's like, you know, I was kind of an ugly duckling in 6th grade. And I'm like, maybe that was it.
And let's go back to maybe the cult.
She says growing up that Ma had all these children that she had taken from parents and they were the inner circle children. And so Parvati had always felt like she was this outsider who wasn't loved or deserving enough because she didn't get to be one of those special chosen children.
And she's like, now I know that those children were all being horribly abused by Mom, but growing up, I wanted to be one of them.
So later in my adult life, if a smart, handsome, charming man thought I was good enough to be his one and only girlfriend and wanted to claim me in front of his friends and family, then that meant I must be lovable, right?
So John leaves his job about 3 months into their relationship and decides he wants to go to Columbia for grad school. And he says, let's move to New York. And she's like, I guess why not?
So she somehow pulls strings through her CBS connections and gets to become the health editor at CBS News, which I'm like, okay, is that why we have like a health crisis in this country? Because Parvati was like, just anyone could do it.
It seems like everyone said anyone could do it. So between CBS and the White House, they were all kind of like, it doesn't really matter who's handling this stuff. So she hates CBS because she's in an office. And as we know, that's jail.
And she hates New York City because it's
loud.
Yeah.
And then John says, let's get married. And she goes, oh my God, my dream.
He proposes on the heels of Trump's first election, which I am like, what does this have to do with either of them? She's like, I was really upset. Anyway, we're in London and he proposed. And I thought she was going to be like, I thought it was a weird time to propose, what with me being upset and all, but it's just
that he did. It's just like to kind of put a timeline to things.
So they get married that July 2017, and then very quickly they get pregnant.
She loves being pregnant.
So something she doesn't really get into in this book, but it's hinted at, is she's like, I loved being pregnant. It was the first time in my life I let myself eat. I'm like, interesting. Do we want to get into that, Parvati, or no?
No.
Unfortunately, she's still on TV, so it still behooves her to not eat, so she can't really look at it too critically.
For the first time in my life, this part of my body wasn't a place to be controlled, sucked in, or tightened. For the first time, I didn't restrict myself. I let myself have what I wanted. I let myself be full. So she talks about how pregnancy was very grounding. It was a process of undoing. Slowly and mercifully over the course of months, she learns to love her body and love herself. I let myself rest when I was tired and eat when I was hungry. I started to reclaim agency over my own care. I slowed way down, not for me, but for my baby.
So she's learning to love herself because to be good to the baby inside her, she has to be good to herself outside the baby. They're kind of one and the same. And that's an amazing experience. So she's like, for the first time, I thought about resting as productive because she's like, even when I'm sitting still, I'm doing the most incredible thing I've ever done, which is create life.
And she realizes that in her life, she isn't alone for the first time. And it's not because she's married, but her baby is her teammate. She's like, I am forever.
They should do the Amazing Race.
Oh my God. Can I tell you?
Imagine doing the Amazing Race with the baby. I mean, either very hard or very easy.
Yeah.
Because the baby can't ever tell you you're wrong.
Yeah.
And it's storable.
That's so true, but it can't help.
And it's happy. And it's hungry.
Yeah. My baby was my teammate. She was helping me grow as I supported her growth. At the same time, I was also being initiated into a lineage of mothers who'd gone before me. The depth of connection I felt to women and mothers was mythic and profound. I was held like a Russian nesting doll with my baby safe inside.
So they moved to LA, but the problem is right before she gave birth, John was like, listen, I want you to focus on being a mom. I'll take care of us. I'll be the breadwinner. So she's like, totally, I would love that. He kind of abruptly gets fired pretty quickly. I mean, I don't know how long he could have even had that job, 2 months maybe.
Yeah.
So luckily they're able to keep the insurance through the actual labor and birth giving. But she's like, oh no, we have no money and we have a new baby. I hired a veteran life and business coach named Amber and paid her $9,000, my entire savings for 3 months of her time to help me start my own coaching business. I had no money left, so this had to work. So she immediately is able to start this life coaching business, which if you've ever needed to know whether or not life coaching is a scam, I actually think it's both. I think it's a scam and not a scam.
Expound.
Well, I think the fact that Parvati, who is pregnant with no money and a husband who won't work, that she hates, is like, I know what would be a perfect business to get me out of here, telling other people how to live their life. And you can just pay somebody, the pyramid scheme of it all. I'm going to pay you $9,000 to teach me how to teach other people. Obviously that's a scam. But also I think if you're asking Parvati to tell you what to do, then you get what you paid for. Do you know what I mean? There is something about it. Sometimes you just want somebody to be like, you're allowed to ask for a raise. And you're like, yeah. To me, it's just a very expensive horoscope. Sometimes you know what you need to hear, but someone needs to say it to you. And so you pay for what you need to hear.
Yeah. And I do feel that she's someone I would want to say it to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's something about her where I'm like, I feel that she's aware of all of life's great principles.
She's a winner.
Yeah.
I want a winner. I want to get advice from somebody that I believe is a winner. So I believe it's winning advice.
Yeah.
Even though it's probably something I could have told myself.
Exactly.
They named the baby Amma, which is based on Japanese women who live near the sea and free dive for pearls.
She's home. She's life coaching. She has a new baby. And John is really worth this.
He decides now is a really good time to learn to surf and stuff. And he's always going on vacations with his dad and friends. And she's just home alone with the baby, exhausted and working.
Yeah.
She also struggled with postpartum anxiety. And she's like, I felt like something might be wrong, but postpartum depression didn't really resonate. And then years later, I heard the phrase postpartum anxiety about being overly vigilant and always nervous and stressed that something terrible was about to happen. And she's like, oh, that's postpartum anxiety.
Yeah. But she didn't know she had it at the time. So she wasn't working on it. She just was afraid of being apart from her baby for 2 minutes because she thought something horrible would happen. And then she gets asked to go on Survivor again. And she was like, okay, I don't really want to, but also I'm low-key addicted to going on Survivor. And also, I always said I would go back if there was an all-winners season. And also, we're broke as a joke.
So she goes, which is really intense. She has to stop breastfeeding early and get back to the gym. I think Alma's 10 months old when she leaves for the 40 days, which is a long time to be away from a little baby, but she had to, I think, for herself and for her family. That's how they had to support themselves. They moved to Georgia so that she could be near her parents.
She's like, well, the dad can't just watch the baby alone.
And
he couldn't.
Yeah, on her way to the plane, he goes, wait a minute, what does she eat? And she's like, ah, ha, ha, that's a joke, right? And she just gets on the plane.
I returned to the United States on my daughter's first birthday, a tweaky shell of my former self. I knew what it was like coming home after Survivor, but this time was different. I couldn't focus solely on rebuilding myself. I was still a new mom with a baby to care for. I needed support in my recovery.
So when she gets back, they're living with her parents in Georgia. And she's like, I was always on the edge of snapping. She goes, I had done a lot of work to heal myself, but coming back from the Survivor stress, like Survivor kind of wears her down to her edge. You know what I mean? Like she's not sleeping. She's not eating. She comes home. She's like every single day waking up in survival mode. And when she comes home, it takes her a long time to decompress. And of course, not only does she not have that time as a mother, she also is with her parents and with this man in this terrible marriage. And so she's like freaking out in ways she's never freaked out before.
She talks a lot throughout this book of how much it would have made a difference to come home from Survivor to a supportive environment ever. I mean, it's so crazy, the advantage of being able to like come home to people that are going to help you. And I guess her parents were, but that's different. I feel like when you have a husband, it's kind of expected that he'll at least wake up with the baby one time.
He's not. She's up with the baby. He'll be up watching TV.
Her parents had like an elderly dog that couldn't control its bowels. And it would like have accidents and he would just like step through it. And she'd be like, well, if you notice piss on the floor, what if you cleaned it?
So it's 2020. Do you guys remember what happened? COVID. Remember when we called it Corona?
Yeah.
R.I.P.
So the coronavirus strikes. They're back in LA and she is like really trying to double down and like she's trying to heal herself. Instead, she kind of starts a texting affair with this guy who lives in Vermont.
Mm-hmm. I sat alone in my car as I sent a wistful DM to the hot, sensitive, emotionally attuned man I'd been flirting with over Instagram since lockdown began a few weeks ago. She's like, I was just so lonely and no one cared about me and it was just nice to feel that part of myself be alive again. Anyway, of course, she gets caught. He sees the text. I had never been so caught. I ripped the phone out of John's hands and shoved it under the couch cushion, sitting on it like a guilty little kid hiding the evidence. It was the most awkward, tense 5 minutes of my life until John realized he'd been betrayed. Then shit hit the fan. With renewed passion, I threw myself into trying to repair my marriage. I told myself if I worked hard enough, I could survive this period of loneliness too.
So then in the fall of 2020, her brother overdoses and passes away. He had been struggling at that point for years. He was, I think, 26.
Yeah, since his 16-year-old head injury.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a horrible time we remember trying to go to funerals and remember loved ones when we're all just like on a Zoom call.
So she is, again, still with a young child, still in a horrible marriage. She goes home to be with her family for a little bit.
She comes home and she's like, I need you to like take care of this family for a minute. I don't have it in me to be the breadwinner right now. And he goes, yeah, don't worry. I'll pay the rent. Because at this point, as an apology, John had said his new dream was to flip a van so they could be like van family people. And so she paid for that. And then she was like, I can't keep working. I need you to like take care of the family for a minute. And then he's like, well, I don't have any money for rent. So she kind of freaked out and said, well, I need a divorce. I can't be this alone anymore.
Yeah. And so as she's trying to maybe get a divorce because he can't even for 1 month hold it together while she grieves her brother, he gets diagnosed with cancer.
So she goes to be like, I want a divorce. And he goes, reverse uno, stage 4. And she's like, how could you fucking have stage 4 cancer? You were literally fine yesterday.
So now he's going through cancer treatment and she is the primary caregiver as well as the daughter's primary caregiver. Only caregiver, sorry.
She has this moment where at one point, John is doing really badly and he gets sent to the ICU. And they're like, we don't know if he'll make it through the night. But it's the same day that she's supposed to fly out to go to her brother's interment. And she's like, so what do I do? Do I give my daughter her last potential day to see her father? Or do I go say goodbye to my brother for one last time? And she goes, I picked my brother. And luckily, John made it.
I felt overwhelmed and resentful. I also felt guilty for feeling angry at John and for not wanting to take care of him. What kind of person resents someone who just got diagnosed with a life-threatening illness? Only a real villain, I thought. Still, I wanted out. So she starts looking for an apartment. I mean, she really starts to be like, what do you mean you couldn't be there for me at all? Well, I was really going through it when I came home from Survivor, when I
had a baby,
when I like was mourning my brother. Like you literally couldn't do any of it. And now I'm taking care of you and I don't even want to be with you.
So she does leave him. She's like, I can't take it anymore. The fights were just getting worse and worse and worse. And she moves out. They have a very difficult, tumultuous divorce. She doesn't get too into the details on it in this book. But ultimately, they have 50-50 custody. And it's when she's alone without her baby that she, for the first time in her life, starts just like truly feeling her feelings. And she's like, I cried for 2 straight years. For 2 straight years, I couldn't stop crying.
Yeah, she would go through these phases where she was like 2 different people. When she didn't have her daughter, she would just like lie on the ground naked in a pile of laundry crying. And then when she did have her daughter, she was super mom.
The process of feeling the pain of my losses cleaned me out, destroying old, outmoded ways of behaving and paved a path to the completely new power source for me. At 39 years old, I was done surviving. Instead, I was ready to love.
So she starts rebuilding herself.
And she starts dating. She's like, I want to date.
She has friends, but she's like, oh, these people could be my family if I build these relationships that way. My dream of having a family didn't have to die with marriage. It could still come true. So she creates this kind of chosen family where she has all these traditions with her friends, like Monday night dinners and all these fun little things. And she also learns how to say no in order to put herself first.
Instead of being terrifying like it once was, saying no became fun for me. She starts reading all these books like Existential Kink and learning to lean into her darker side. And she asks herself questions like, well, what about being called a slut and greedy scares you so much? And is that true? And what do you like about being a greedy little slut? Like, maybe that is part of who you are. Why do you have to run from it? Why do you have to deny it? What if you instead said, maybe there is a part of me that's like that, and that's why it hurts, and I can embrace that. Learn to love all the parts of you, the good and the bad. So she starts dating. She gets a group chat full of other single moms because she doesn't know that many people that went through a divorce, and they're all kind of supportive. She ends up having like really fun sex with this hot doctor, but she soon realizes he's not really listening to her. Like, she wants to have kinkier sex and he never follows through. And she's like, why can't I have one man in my life who does one thing for me?
It was so crazy because she's texting him being like, I want you to tie me up today. And he was like, amazing. And she's like, so don't show up to my house without rope. And he'd be like, you got it, sexy. And then he would show up without rope. I'm like, what the fuck do you think that meant? Was that just like...
Well, she said as soon as she stopped texting him first, she realized he never texted her first. So I guess it was like, he's happy to have sex with her. He's not happy to run a second errand.
Yeah.
She was not worth the second chore.
Yeah.
She starts like looking back at her life and what went wrong with her marriage. And obviously it was a lot of things, but she remembers the time when her husband says something like, oh, in my dream life, I'm a CEO and you're my beautiful wife who's like charming everybody. And she gets really offended. And he goes, well, why are you being so intense? It's not a big deal. In that moment, it struck me in quite a dramatic way. I had married the patriarchy, a system built upon using women to prop up the power of men.
This sucks. Obviously, he is a misogynistic asshole who wanted a mother. He didn't want a wife.
Yeah.
But
that is what
that
she
was
wanted.
like kind of her fantasy for a minute.
Yeah, that is what she thought she was going to get. She was like, yeah, I'll follow you to business school. Yeah.
I understand how you can be like in a tumultuous period of your life and be like, oh, if I ground myself through taking care of this man for the rest of my life, like that could be something. And it obviously wasn't. I feel like this wasn't the most fucked up thing he said.
It's the most fucked up is he didn't even do his part. He was supposed to have a job in this fantasy.
Exactly. He was going to be the CEO and instead he like couldn't even keep a job for more than 5 minutes. She enlists a variety of healers and therapists. She's getting like somatic healing and she's doing a lot. And she's regrounding within herself and like learning where the trauma is trapped in her body. She's like, the body really does keep the score. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, she has a list of therapists. And I'm like, were any of them regular? Everything was like breathing therapist, body therapist, acupuncture therapist, somatic therapist. And I'm like, was anybody just like asking you about your childhood?
And she would just have this woman, Sarah, like put her hand on her shoulder and Parvati would cry. And then she'd be
breathe
like,
into the pain. Yeah.
Amazing therapy today.
She comes back to this one moment where she is doing one of these reality shows. She's hosting it and she's driving an ATV into a dune in Namibia and she gets into an ATV crash. And in these therapy sessions, this moment keeps arising for her. And the therapist finally says, well, if you could go back in time and change it, what would you do? And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, well, what would you do if you could step in and like change the outcome? And she goes, well, I guess I would stop. And she goes, really? And she's like, it never even really occurred to me before that I could stop, that I didn't have to be going as fast as I could all the time until I die. The thought had never occurred to me. I could stop.
My fast-paced lifestyle had never allowed me to fully process the trauma of my accident or any of the other traumas I'd experienced for that matter.
Do you see what I mean? Where I'm like, I think we need to do more digging in the ashram. Let's get back to that memory you have of being thrown into a pond and almost drowning by an adult man.
When you were 5.
Let's talk about that. I feel like that came and went.
So then she learns how to just like slow down and exist in her body. My body had shifted out of the current of survival, threat, and urgency. I had dropped into a flow, fully present and alive inside of this moment.
I'd been my body's oppressor, controlling and forcing it to perform for me. How I'd hurt it, abandoned it, and judged it when it needed tenderness and care. With this new awareness and understanding, I could begin to write a new story for myself that included using my voice to set boundaries and ask for what I needed.
I started connecting my body's sensations to the thoughts in my mind that matched them. This was powerful, truth coming from inside me.
So after the doctor, she starts wondering, like, why is it that I feel I need something from a man so bad? And this leads her to her first queer relationship.
So she starts dating May Martin, the
comedian, musician,
actor,
a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
Podcaster, fellow podcaster.
And May being
appear in the space.
May being non-binary really opens Parvati up to understanding the way she performs the gender roles of a relationship. And so when she's not performing for a man as a sexual partner, when she's not performing for a woman as a friend that she's trying to sort of like game the system with, she's like, who am I? And she's just like being herself. And in this relationship, she really opens up and flourishes.
If you're looking for some imagery of Parvati having sex, she really
tells you.
She really details what it's like when she's
wearing a dick.
Yeah. Pegging. I guess it's not pegging. Is it pegging?
I don't know.
Or is that butt only? Whatever. She's fucking May, and it's hot.
Yeah.
She loves May. May's safe. She gets the call to do Traitors. She goes and does it. And then she does the island one, and she doesn't. Coming home to May is like the most wonderful thing in the world. She's finally powerful and safe.
Also, the fact that Traitors was such a stressful and traumatic experience, I get it. But I was like, wait, I thought Traitors was the cushy one, and it's still like really spun her out.
Well, it's so funny because she's like, I mean, her whole trauma is that she wants to think of herself as a nice, liked person. And it seems like everything she does proves that she's hated. And so now she's on Traitors literally lying after doing all of this psychosomatic work to believe that she's good. And now she has to be bad. And I believe it's stressful.
I believe it's stressful.
I wish there was a version of Traitors you could watch where they don't tell you who the traitor is. Because it's so easy to think they're fucking idiots. I'm like, duh, it's Bob the drag queen. And then I'm like, maybe it's not so obvious to them.
It's probably not so obvious to them. And I feel like everyone's acting weird because she was like, no, the first night I got accused of being a traitor, but I wasn't a traitor yet. And that like sent me spiraling. Yeah. And also just the fact that I was a villain on Survivor, like people kind of had a target on my back from the beginning. So like there's this intensity to prove that you're a faithful, but you have no way to really prove it. And then she was a traitor. So she was a traitor trying to prove she's like, it was crazy. I also think it's really beautiful that she was beloved on Traitors.
Yeah. All that work did do something because she was teased. I mean, we teased her headbands. We teased her thinking face. Like, we did kind of tease her, but she could see the fun and the joy in it, and that she was being teased from a place of love as opposed to before when everyone was just calling her an evil, stupid slut.
And like, that's where I became obsessed with her. I started watching Survivor because of her and Boston Rob.
So she comes home. She's in love with May. She finally feels she's won the love of the fans. She goes, I felt victorious. And then, of course, there's an epilogue because if you look at her Instagram, it doesn't look like her and May are still together. I think her and May were together for like 6 months. And she's like, yeah, end the book on that. And I'm like, well, that's pretty gay. It's gay to date somebody or be in a queer relationship for like 6 months and be like, end the book on it. This is my final chapter.
I looked it up and they, I think, met in 22 or 23, moved in together in 2024. And in January of 25, Parvati said their relationship is in flux.
I mean, so there's an epilogue where she's like, I work so much and May works so much. We both travel a ton. So who knows?
Also, she's talking to her therapist and she's talking about like, why do I feel messy? And her therapist is like, well, you are nature and nature is messy. I don't know. This is something I really liked because I feel like this book is very term heavy. Like she's trying to categorize herself in all of these boxes, like which, you know, response is she? Fight, flight, fawn, or freeze? She's always trying to classify herself. And I do think that we as a society need to embrace that people are complex. Like, obviously, if you are not doing well, it's helpful to work on yourself. But in terms of being like, why do I feel messy? It's because like life is messy. It just is. And so we have to figure out how to deal with it.
I know for certain now that I don't have to be good. I don't have to be nice. I don't have to be liked. I only have to continue to let the soft animal in my body love what it loves, which is a Mary Oliver poem, which she quotes at the beginning of the epilogue. And so that's where we're at with Parvati, who is still cute as a goddamn button.
Oh,
God, Caitlin Bristow,
so
do you look upon Parvati and see all that you've lost?
In terms of facial movement.
Yeah, just thank God we had 2 of them. So at least one of them we could watch age beautifully.
Oh, I love her so much. This book was kind of kooky, but
it was almost there. I really wish I could have been her ghostwriter because I would have loved like crying an H-Mart version of Parvati's life. I would have loved a thoughtful, well-written memoir where you take what it's like growing up in an ashram under constant surveillance. I mean, she was taught from the time she was born that everything is a manipulatable game to win.
Yes.
Life is a hierarchy of sociability. Only some get to earn love, and it's scary. And then the way that she took that and like found her perfect job, but then the way winning the game of Survivor. I mean, it is such an interesting story. I wish we had a bit of a better book. Is that fair?
Yeah, and I liked it. And I feel like where she gets in the end, the conclusion that there is no conclusion, like I wish she had gone back then and started over.
I mean, I think that's the difference between a celebrity memoir and a true memoir. I know people were really kind of confused about why I didn't consider A Crying in H Mart like a celebrity memoir. I'd even say Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died is not a quote unquote celebrity memoir, in that the way it was written is just as important in telling the story as the story it's telling. This is a story that was told, frankly, not frankly, but there wasn't like a true understanding of like narrative in it. And I really think something really interesting could have happened here. And I think I would love to read the fictionalized version of Parvati's life.
Yeah. And even like the down the road memoir version.
I just don't know that anybody who isn't like a true writer in their heart could get there.
Yeah.
But God bless. Anyway, who do we want to survive with?
Wait, how fertile would you say the soil is?
I would say the soil is 3. Like this book is 3.5. The soil could have been, like the glimpses I saw, 4.5.
Yeah. Yeah. How many were martinis with Parv?
Oh my God.
Like max.
I mean,
black me out.
Lock me in a mansion in Scotland with her, please. Lock me on Fiji with no food. Lock me in the boxing ring. Let her beat me up. I love you, Parv.
Punch me in the face, Parvati.